track, getting hit multiple times. Coming out of that bike section, more drivers coming to blows.
Greetings, race fans, and buckle up for tonight's presentation of Sim Racers Group Formula 4 on SMB. JR Gregory here with you on the call alongside my partner Kennen Miller and our producer Joshua Wilkie. Week 9 of SRG F4 brings us to Aragon, opened in 2009 in Alcanif, Spain, intended to accommodate both FIA and FIM competition, current host to GP motorcycles and World Superbikes, as well as past host to a European Le Mans series and the old Formula V8 open wheelers, Renault Formula, if you remember that one from way back. Today's config: 3.3 miles, 5.3 clicks, and 18 corners. The current configuration record was a 131.376 set by a Formula Renault car back in 2012, and I'm here to tell you that is cooking. That's a 3.5 liter V8 in a car pretty similar to these F4 cars, so those were crazy days back then. But anyway, Kennen, this is a very fun and fast circuit that really demands these drivers maintain maximum speed across the apex, really turning these F4 cars into momentum cars. But what are you looking for out of these competitors tonight?
Yeah, absolutely, JR. I mean, this is one of the more visually stunning tracks that we're going to go to on this circuit. this season in the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series. But what I'm really looking forward to, there's a lot of challenging braking zones. There's certainly, clearly, obviously, as we can see on the camera, the elevation changes. It's going to really affect not just how you can maybe try and dive into a corner and use that elevation change to make a pass, but it will also change just how you're able to run into some of the high-speed corners. You're not going to be able to utilize it the same way you can on flat ground. You're going to have to play into the banking and kind of see where the downhills and uphills lead you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've managed to get a few laps in at a public practice session earlier today. The car feels absolutely great out here. And speaking of elevation change, let's ride with Jose Navas right here. We're coming onto the first half of the back straight, coming into a left-hander right here. And it took me a while to figure this out, but tempted to really stomp on the brakes right there, but completely unnecessary. You just drag the brakes a little bit, drop it a couple of gears, and like you were saying, Kennen, because of the track picks up right there, gains elevation right there, you get a lot of extra grip. You got to drive with confidence right there and not over slow. And that's one of the themes I found throughout this entire lap out here at Motorland Aragon is it's very, very critical to avoid overslowing. I don't have a lot of experience in these cars, but for me, it really took a lot of concentration and a lot of faith to believe that these F4 cars were going to stay hooked up. They got a lot of mechanical grip. They've got some downforce going. And as I was sharing with you guys prior to the session, my last driving experience here was in a league race where I was driving a 992 Cup car in a downpour. So I definitely felt like Superman driving these F4s out here. It's a really great track car combination.
Yeah, the aerodynamics that a Formula 4 car has, albeit slightly insignificant compared to higher Formula level cars, it really fits perfectly because of the elevation changes. It only allows the cars to get such a high speed, and when you reach that kind of optimal speed, it really fits for what the Formula 4 car does. And I mean, there's a reason it's not just called Aragon, it's the Motorland Aragon. It is a very technical track. It really has a lot of complexities to the apexes. It really depends on how you get into a corner and how you get out of a corner. We're looking at David Borden. He's looking pretty comfortable right now, sitting fifth on the board as we're coming to the end of practice. But you can really see just how much he's using of the curbs. It's a very much a very technical track, but in a lot of days it's kind of like a track club track or a club car track or something of that sort. This isn't something you'd always see on the most premier circuits, but it's really something that makes it a challenge and an absolute blast to drive in something like a Formula 4 car.
Yeah, too, right, and sort of underused on the iRacing service. I checked out, you can click the track in iRacing and see how many places it's used over the whole season, and this track barely used out here this season, which is a shame because it is an awful lot of fun out here. And good point on the track limits. Something else that you really need to be aware of to get a good lap time around here. A lot of the racing surface that you're going to see here tonight is outside the white line onto the green. Those are not off tracks. A little bit right here. You see if Hyde lets her car drift out of the exit of that mini corkscrew, and she stays on the asphalt there. So leaving a little bit of time on the table. There is a ton of activity outside the white lines, and we're definitely going to see the faster drivers demonstrate their familiarity with those track limits. But qualifying, or practice rather, winding down here, about 10 seconds left. We're going to fire up a 15-minute open quali that will set the grid for our 20-minute sprint. So we're glad you're here with us on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Excited to get this one underway, and I think this is going to be a pretty good race. These drivers have been putting in their time, getting their practice laps in, and some of them are getting some very, very quick times down. You see Duvall right now with the 2-minute 0.6, and I was poking around their Garage 61 stats, and Navas is way down there too. He had a 2-minute 0.3. So Navas was flying. Expect him to improve his practice time during qualifying, but that is going to get going here in just a moment. And pretty friendly conditions out here. Yeah, qualifying underway. So we have got cloudy skies here in Spain, only 64 ambient and 64 track temp. So pretty friendly track temperature, which is going to be doing these drivers a big favor out here, because I think if it was hot and greasy, this track would be fairly hard on the tires on these things.
Yeah, and I think it is worth noting, JR, 8 cars, the top 8 in practice there, were all within 8 tenths of each other, which is, for such a technical track with a lot of cornering, a lot of trail braking, where in many ways it's one of the tracks where you can gain a lot of time over some of the larger tracks you see with bigger straightaways, and allows the downforce and the slipstream to keep you kind of within it. That's a pretty tight little field to only be 8 tenths apart in the top 8. So I agree with you. I'm fully expecting quite a tight race here, whether it be through mistakes or just attrition. I think this is the kind of race where the top 8 right now, from what we saw in practice, can certainly see it. And I think even into qualifying, we will kind of see right now a lot of cars going out early. It's a very tight track. I don't think you're going to rely too much on the draft. And like we always mention, it's really unique how the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series does it, but it is fully open qualifying, as you see. And obviously the traffic can really create itself as we're looking off the rear of Brian Rice on his out lap. And you kind of just want to find yourself some good clean space. You don't want to worry or rely on a draft, I think, to get the best time at this track. You just need clean open track to have it done.
Yeah, and maybe I can get Josh, if I could bother you to put that blimp shot back up just for a second. I just wanted to point out that crazy. So look at the hairpin, folks, in the bottom left of the corner. And that is, you see that, Josh getting the mouse wrist loosened up there. But that is a gnarly hairpin. I think that might be the tightest corner on any road course in iRacing that I can think of. If I'm wrong about that, go ahead and throw it in our YouTube chat. But that is going to be super fascinating right there. There's going to be a draft on the second half of that back straight, and there's going to be some dives right there. So we'll see whether or not some folks can get passes set up right there. But here we go, qualifying underway now, and these laps a little longer, 2 minutes plus. So this out lap is going to be pretty long. It's going to be a minute before we can get some times on the board here. So every lap going to be critical. You're going to want to limit those off tracks, make sure you don't have a heater going and invalidate it. And here is a look from Guyton, the underbody cam, as they shoot down that little mini corkscrew here onto the back straightaway. And in this configuration, this back straightaway is broken up by that little uphill infield section. So there is external view of Guyton there, and there we go up that hill. A lot of grip right there. As I said, don't want to overslow there. And car lightens up just a hair right here as you're trying to get it rotated down the hill, and the exit right here, Kennen, so critical. Guyton doing a good job cutting that corner. There's a kind of a marble embedded right there. That is what you're aiming at. Just want to graze that, but people are going to want a very good exit out of that corner to get a good run down this little mini back straightaway. The draft is going to play a role, and look at this tight hairpin, probably all the way down into first gear right here for some of the hard chargers. I was leaving it in second because I like to keep my F4 car pointed down the track instead of backwards, but there were probably going to be some people going for first right there, and that is a pretty good look at a lap here, and we'll see if Guyton is going to set a time here. I think that's McDonald ahead of him there. McDonald with a 2:01.4. Duval gets a 2:01.6, so I'm guessing pole position, Kennen, is going to be about a second quicker than that. We should see low 2 minute 0.5 probably is going to be pole this time.
Yeah, I agree with you. James McDonald really set a pretty good lap there, and there, yeah, now you see it. We'll have to go back and maybe get a replay of what happened to Jose Navas, but a few cars were collected in a little bit of an incident involving Jose Navas just now, and certainly disorganized a lot of drivers' laps there. Obviously, in the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series, there's no damage or anything, so the drivers will be able to stay out. And there we see somebody taking a little bit of spin in front of Jose Navas. I don't know quite who that is, but thankfully it doesn't involve anybody else. But there was a good little incident coming to the start-finish line there, and probably killed about 3, possibly 4 cars out laps coming into the next hot lap. So I don't expect to see a good line from Jose Navas. And maybe here we're taking a look at it. We can see the who is that, the 41. The 41 of Ken Glasser goes way off, really wide into the grass. See, he comes back in. The 93 of Embriet Hyde safely gets by, and away they go.
Yeah, Glasser going for a ride there. I think that was very likely. I look at my track map right here. The turn 7, kind of difficult to get it woed up right there, and it's the turn right before the little mini hairpin, so pretty easy to go wide right there, especially in a cup car in the rain. But I'm trying to get over that. I'm a little traumatized by that experience. But yeah, that whatever that little kerfuffle was, Kennen, right at start finish, very, very costly with 2-minute laps around this pretty lengthy track. You can't afford to have too many throwaways. So everybody involved in that contact there lost their out lap, lost their first lap. So that's 4 minutes, almost a third of the qualifying session. So really important to make them count here.
Yeah, and you can see in the top left, we're coming up on 6.5 minutes in qualifying, practically halfway. And so far, there's only so many drivers that have even really put down a time. We've had 12 cars put down a time, but that's over 15 different seconds of laps. Really, there's only about 4 drivers that are in the 201 so far, just breaking under 202s, which is certainly way off of what we saw in practice. So I expect to see some drivers hopefully having an opportunity that they can find some good time here in the final minutes. It's not too late to be able to reset your car, come out on fresh tires and full fuel, and be able to put down a good lap. I just think it really speaks to how technical Aragon is, and just the way you really have to fight through the corners. I know that draft, it'll certainly be super helpful coming to the race and making sure you're staying with the leader or having a passing opportunity. I just don't know how much having a car in front of you in that straightaway really helps your qualifying times. In some ways, if you're faster than them, there's just too much time left at the end of the racetrack to just sit behind and follow. You'll end up losing in the back half of the lap. So it's kind of very interesting, but we still see James McDonald top of the board, 2/10 ahead. Is certainly set a pretty quick pace, but I think this track is really proving challenging, and it's a lot of mismatch of laps right now.
Yeah, a little surprised. McDonald still hanging on. His first time lap was at 2:01.4. I fully expected to see cars under that 2:01 barrier, and not so far. Up top, it is McDonald from David Hirsch, who just jumped up less than a tenth behind McDonald from David Borden. So far, the top 3 followed by Duvall and Schwartz, and notably Jose Navas, who is fighting to maintain his grip on P1. We'll go through points later. And then is that Navas in the dirt again? So far, Navas has 1 timed lap, a 2:08.5, and he is going to want to do significantly better than that. I know he wants to qualify in the top 5 at a minimum, if not try to put a pole time down, which he is certainly capable of. I saw a bunch of laps out of him on Garage 61 that were 2 minutes 0.5 in the neighborhood of, as I said earlier. And right now, Navas sitting in P16 and another incident, which could cost him 2 more laps. So this qualifying not at all unfolding well for Navas and his supporters out here today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of hate to even bring up his name because I felt like I sort of commentator cursed him last week when we were at Interlagos. I really put a lot of pressure on him in the broadcast booth about how he needed to perform well, and he ended up with the 10th, and it really put him into a big setback. He's currently sitting 4th in points, and really want to see him do well today, just as an overall race fan and a supporter of the group. But right now, it looks like Jose Navas is struggling. This is certainly a highly technical track, but it's got to also be another opportunity where he can't let himself fall behind in the championship run that he's trying to make. So you can only eat so many of those so long, and hopefully he'll maybe have a little bit better pace in the race than we're seeing right now in qualifying.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I may have oversold the track temperature here. It looks like it might be a little bit greasy out there. And the reason, you can see the humidity in the air of this track right off of the Mediterranean and southeastern Spain. So the track, the humidity, very, very high. It's almost 100% humidity out here. And that can definitely take away from grip, as we're watching Alex Schwartz drop down through that very fun little mini corkscrew of turn 8 and 9. There is a Spanish name for that complex, and out of respect for all of my friends who are Spanish speakers, I'm not even going to attempt to. I'll just call it 8 and 9, or the mini corkscrew. But super fun to drop down through there, put the hammer down, and launch yourself down to that back straight. And this little section right here is pretty fun too. As I said, you got to trust the car and trust yourself and not over slow right there. Just brush the brakes and fling it up that hill, and the gravity mashes that car down onto the track. And really, really a fun corner to get right. And taking a look at Alex Schwartz, he's up there kind of flirting with the podium right now. Schwartz sitting less than half a tenth off of James McDonald in P3, and overall only 2/10 off of pole. So the people with the pace starting to show up right here, from Guyton, Borden, McDonald, Schwartz, and Hirsch. All 5 of those cars separated by only 24/100. So people starting to get in the groove here. Still keeping an eye on Navas. I don't want to multiply the commentator's curse that Kennen gave him at Interlagos, but man, oh man, he needs to get something going here. Running out of time in a hurry. Probably 2 or 3 laps remaining.
Yeah, really, where Navas is on track, I would expect maybe at best he'll get 2 flying laps. I think if he puts in 1 decent lap, he'll really see it. And here we're looking at Jason Cotcher going back through the mini corkscrew, and this aerial kind of high up cam really just shows the elevation changes that the drivers are dealing with. I mean, that car is fully loaded. You feel the G forces, especially a lot of these guys out in San Jose using those Sim Racers group rigs out there. They've got to be feeling every bit of those steering wheels through, and you see Cotcher going wide. So it shows you've got to run a lot of speed here. There's a lot of hard braking. It's a lot of very technical corners. It makes for a very interesting kind of flow to everything. But I think what we're really kind of finding out in this qualifying session right now, JR, is that this is really an open race. I mean, we don't have Jose Navas really sitting at the front where you can guarantee he's going to be in third. And there we see Navas spins again. So that's going to out that lap. Man, right coming to the finish line, he may not even have enough time to get back around and start another flying lap. So that's absolutely brutal. You see it just heavy on the gas, almost surprising how he lost the corner there. But I think just hitting over those curbs are very bumpy. It really unsettles the underbody of the car, and around Jose Navas went. But we'll have to see. He is going through 8 and 9, so I think he might get back around and be able to start one more flying lap just before time expires, and we see the checkered flag in qualifying. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on, but he's clearly struggling. And kind of back to my point I was making, that really opens the door for a lot of drivers today. There's no Edgar Lau. Jose Navas is really struggling. A lot of the top 5, they've been in the top 5, but now might be their opportunity to really be able to snag a win or even a podium.
Yeah, Navas will get a flyer. He's on it right now, but this is his last opportunity to get around. That timer will have hit 0 by the time he gets back to start finish. So not Navas, the pressure is on, and Navas supporters have their fingers crossed for him. And oh, by the way, look at Adam Duvall in that lucky number 13 car. Duvall finally breaking that 201 barrier and snags the provisional pole away from Guyton with a 2-minute 0.890. So right now up top it's Duvall from Guyton from McDonald, and that's Duvall coming up on Guyton right now actually, and then Borden, Schwartz, Hirsch, Cotcher, Hagen, Bays, and Clark. And again, not to pile on, but Jose Navas currently sitting in P20, only having come up with a 208. That's about gosh, 7.5 seconds off of pole. So Navas hopefully can take a breath, put something down here, and Kennen, he really should, if he gets a clean lap out of this, he should end up landing it in the top 5.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you'd think if he can just, at this point, you're just stressed out. He's obviously made a lot of mistakes. You just need to put in a clean lap. You know what, 208's nothing like what you've been running and practicing all week, getting ready for this race. But you just put in a nice, clean, smooth lap. Maybe take it a little conservative on the entries and exits. Don't want to lose the underneath of the car. And there's no reason to think he still can't run a 202, maybe a really high 201, and find himself in 6th or 10th in the running order, which would be a drastic jump from 20th. Where he's sitting right now, and we'll see what he gets as he comes across the line here, and he does exactly ran a 202.520. That's a very conservative lap, as we could see on the screen, but still jumps himself up 12 places right at the end of qualifying. That's a certainly a huge recovery for Jose Navas. Kind of keeps himself into this race.
Yeah, Navas in a better position there, as Kennen showing his Svengali-like skills, not only called the time, but called the grid position, as Navas does a 202.5 and lands in P8. But so far, there is your pole sitter, Adam Duvall. I'm not sure if he is still on a time lap or not. He may be in a position to improve his time, but Duvall comfortably right now 0.3 ahead of Guyton, and I'm going to say that this is Duvall's first pole of the season here in Formula 4. So tip of the hat to Adam Duvall, who came ready to party here at Aragon. And as Kennen mentioned, a lot of these folks are down at the Sim Racers Group facility on the east side of San Jose. If you're in San Jose, it's right off of the 680 south of the 101 rather, south of the 680 interchange, and stop by and meet some of the folks, check out the facility. It's an awesome spot, but probably a dozen sim rigs lined up in there, and some of these drivers are there driving side by side. But my point is that many of these folks don't have rigs at home, so their practice time is critical when they show up. And I'll tell you that an hour before the race probably is not long enough to get the nuances of this very, very tough track. But it looks like qualifying is wound down now, so we wait for the iRacing universe to click over, and we'll have that starting grid for you in just one moment.
And I think, JR, we've just got, and we actually just got news in right now as we're looking on the leaderboard. So we've got Tyler Hagan is actually going to be Diego Posada, and Jason Cotcher is going to be, I think, Thomas Brashear. We've got a little mix up, like we said, racing out of the studio in San Jose, run by the fantastic Captain Jason Cotcher. Just a little technical difficulties, unable to change their names onto the leaderboard list. So just maybe for a little note for the fans back at home who we're really seeing there. Obviously, you can watch both of those fantastic drivers race in the Formula 3 Sim Racers Group Series, also on the Slow Motion Broadcasting Network on Wednesday nights at the same exact time.
All right, so to review, Cotcher is Brashear in the number 1 car, and Hagan in the 44 on our timing and scoring is Diego Posada for their fans. So a little glitch here. We're almost perfect here at SRG and SMB, but every now and then we have an issue, and we're going to have that starting grid for you right here. It's Adam Duvall in the front row next to Jacob Guyton, then McDonald next to David Borden in row 2. Schwartz will line up next to David Hirsch in 5 and 6. And that is Brashear in P7 next to Jose Navas in P8, and Posada in P9 next to Vase. That's going to be a test tonight. We'll see how we do. Dan Clark will line up next to Greg Meyer in P6, and we'll give a little scroll. Trantham will line up next to Isaac Ammon in row 17, then Rice next to Walker Foltz, Ken Glasser next to Embriette Hyde in row 9, Samudio next to Estep in 19 and 20, then Sai Nathan and Shane Cheng in P22. Cheng, not a familiar name to me. He may be our rookie here, so welcome Shane, and good luck if your first race is here at this very difficult track. As we look down at the grid, you see the cars lined up on the start-finish straightaway there, and that is Duvall in the number 13 in the left row. So Duvall will be a nose ahead, but will have the outside entry into turn 1, have to defend against Guyton in that multicolored car at the front of the inside row. And iRacing is going to force the start for us here in about 30 seconds, or the lights could come on anytime, as they just have. So here we go. We're underway at Aragon, and looks like McDonald sneaking through there. People making moves right here off of the start, and may have decided that making stuff happen is tough here at Aragon. Guyton falling like a stone right now. Look at that Frosted Flakes car going down the inside of Guyton. That's Alex Schwartz. So it is Adam Duvall from James McDonald from Schwartz. McDonald up 1 off the start, and Schwartz up 2 at the expense of Guyton, who fell to off of the grid. And woo, little lockup right there. Take it easy, everybody. Cold tires, long race ahead, but a very clean start at a problematic turn 1 here at Aragon.
Yeah, everybody doing a pretty good job getting through turn 1. The way they line up the drivers, it really sets Adam Duvall to a disadvantage in a lot of ways, but he gets a really good start, and you can see he's got a several handful of car lengths lead right now over James McDonald, who is really frantically pushing with 4 cars behind him right now. And yeah, we'll have to wonder, Jacob Guyton really conceded a lot of positions there for having such an advantageous spot for the start of the race. So I don't know what that was really all about. Maybe just like we talk about how technical this track is. And here we see him going side by side, trying to get a little bit of those positions back, pushing on Alex Schwartz. We'll see. It's going to come back towards Schwartz's way. Dude, that corner, they almost touch. But Jacob Guyton able to keep it with him. No contact, so no harm, no foul. And everybody kind of starting to single file themselves out. A lot of close competition, but Jacob Guyton really hurt himself on that start. It was an opportunity where he could have maybe come out of minimum of second, and he really conceded a lot of spots, maybe for the concern of safety, keeping the wheels underneath him. Like we see, mistakes can really cost you more than to play it safe, and he's decided to put himself in, and he really locked up the brakes. Maybe a little touch there between Guyton and Alex Schwartz, and it looks like maybe they're keeping it going. We go back, Isaac Hammond, we're looking at him and going up to Jacob Guyton again. And they're still in a fight as they go down the front stretch. 1 lap in, and it's a dogfight already.
Yeah, Guyton looking racy out there, kicking himself for that bad start and taking it to Schwartz. And Borden has got through Schwartz as well. So Guyton fighting his way back up. And look at Duvall. I thought, he had kind of lit the wick, Kennen, right off of the front, and McDonald right back with him, only about a half second. And as you look back from Guyton, that is Borden and Schwartz behind him. Oof! And there is Brashear taking a little spinner there, going into that uphill section that breaks up, I think, if I have the right spot. Or is that turn 1? No, that's turn 1. Turn 1 is a little bit difficult on this. Oh, no, it's not actually. Wrong again. It was coming. Turn 5 rather. Yeah, that's a tough left-hander where the car lightens up a little bit right there. But up front, it is Duvall from McDonald, from Guyton, from Borden, from Schwartz. And a lot of action up and down the grid here early.
Yeah, and here we see a replay. Jose Navas actually going underneath the Thomas Brashear, and they did touch wheels. It was a very gentle contact, but enough to send Thomas Brashear around. We'll have to see if the stewards have anything to say about that kind of contact. I'm sure maybe that's a little bit of just a racing incident, but nevertheless, it puts him all the way down into 20th, and Jose Navas still running in 7th. So a lot of things are really opening up. You're seeing a lot of the tough fighting we got going on. We see Adam Duvall almost breaking himself into an 8/10 lead here, but they're certainly taking the toe. And there is Guyton maybe making a look on McDonald. A little bit close, not quite able to get there. And there's Schwartz. There's fighting all over this racetrack right now, JR. There is really no spot that isn't being contested at this point.
Yeah, I think that was actually McDonald getting through on Guyton there on the hairpin. He set that up with a nice run out of that uphill combination, and that onto that second half of the back straight got a run, and got him under braking there into that final hairpin. But yeah, a lot of these cars looking very racy out here. They only have 20 minutes to make something happen. Oof! And there is more fighting. Guyton trying to get back through McDonald and is just going to get him on the inside. Can he make it stick here, though? And this is coming up on a very difficult section. This is one of the hardest corners on the track for me. You really have to break down and rotate the car on an off-camber right-hander right there. Really easy to overshoot. We've already seen some cars in the kitty litter right here. And look at Guyton take it to McDonald down the mini corkscrew, and David Borden hanging around back behind, licking his lips, along with Schwartz and David Hirsch. So look at that train forming behind Guyton. It's Guyton from McDonald, from Borden, from Schwartz, from Hertz, and Navas sniffing around too in P10. So my goodness, all 6 of those cars fighting for P2, and about 2.5 seconds cover all of them.
Yeah, and I think it's absolutely insane. And here we go back. We'll take a look at Rudy Samudio having to make quite an evasive action. Oh no, gets it from the rear Embriet Hyde. Everybody trying to just avoid a wreck, and unfortunately collects more. Possibly Ken Glasser being involved with the spin they were trying to avoid. And here we look at Sarvez just going way too heavy right into Ken Glasser. That's the incident we were looking at, and it just kind of ensues the madness going on after. I think Sarvez just got in a little bit too hot. He was trying to sort of peek the overtake. I don't know if he was really wanting to take it, but when he got on the brakes, he found out everything was locked up. And here on board with Embriet Hyde, you see just having to dive. She's just so worried about having to react to not hit the car. You kind of forget your braking point, and everybody's kind of breaking off of what's expected there. And fortunately has that rear end collision. So of course, in the Sim Racers Group Formula 4, there's no damage. They'll all be able to keep going. Thankfully, they kind of kept it straight there. But nevertheless, certainly time-consuming, and will set them back on the scoreboard a little bit. And here we're now looking aerial view over Jose Navas, who's now found himself in 6th place. He's actually, JR really surprised me to do so poorly in qualifying. He's found himself with a pretty good, consistent pace here during the race.
Yeah, Navas, as I said, owned the Garage 61 lap time for this track for this week. Heading into this, he was in the low 2 minutes, so I fully expected him to come up with some kind of pace. Right now he's got about 2/10 gap. Oh my goodness, and there is a mess. That's Guyton, that's McDonald. Navas is working his way through there as well. A huge incident there. McDonald, who had a pretty good drive going, qualified in the top 3, now sitting down in P7, which is a loss of 4 for him. And I know McDonald disappointed by that. And, you know, that might have just been taking that inside line on that hairpin, getting on the throttle a little bit too much there and looping it. I did not really see any contact. There's Borden taking a spin as well, and that's going to cost him 5 positions all the way down into P9 as Josh goes through our crash list, which is growing at an exponential fashion right now. And I'll take a breath here in a second and let you know what's going on up front. And Navas, looks like Navas suffered a slowdown in there somewhere. But up top, it is Duvall from Hirsch from Guyton. Hirsch has managed to move up 4 positions to land there in P2. And look at Greg Meyer is up 7 to sit in P5. A major shuffling as the mayhem breaks out in Formula 4.
Yeah, that collision, you spoke about it during practice, that heavy hairpin, and whether there's contact or no contact, it's one of the most challenging corners on this Aragon circuit, and it's really going to prevent clusters. And unfortunately, when we had such a group with Schwartz, Guyton, Meyer, Navas, David Hirsch, everybody, it just really all kind of came together there, and you just get so many cars running close, even just one car having a little bit of a mistake. And you'll see there, we'll have to go back and review. Maybe Schwartz had a little bit of contact there into the car in front of him. It's really hard to tell. It's just kind of a coming together of really hard racing drivers' minds there in the apex of one, and at some point it's kind of got to sort itself out, and unfortunately there it sorted itself out through spins and kind of created a little bit of a gap. But Adam Duvall still only ahead by 3 seconds. He's not fully out of it. One little mistake. This track, like we speak about mistakes, is such an important thing in any kind of SRG Formula 4 race. But this track is certainly one where you can catch yourself out all on your own and spin it around. So he's still got David Hirsch kind of in tow, and can still see him ahead as we see Hirsch and Guyton kind of all behind him, and that could potentially turn out for an eventful race as we see Adam Duvall going wide. So like I said, not susceptible to mistakes. He's still got a long way to go as we're just getting up to halfway through this race.
Yeah, and Kennen flexing that commentator's curse effective on Duvall there, right? As he was talking about unforced errors. You see Duvall going wide on that uphill turn 12 into that little uphill inner loop here at Aragon. Didn't hurt him too much. He did lose a second to Guyton behind, though. And speaking of Guyton, you know, I might need to see that incident in the hairpin one more time with James McDonald. Looking at it again, McDonald might have been tapped in the rear by Guyton, and that might be what turned him. Let's take a look, and doink, and there it is. So Guyton kind of clearing the table right there, driving away from a cloud of smoke and a pile of debris, and that's what put him into P2. So yeah, a trip to the principal's office may be in store for Guyton there. And yeah, we'll take one more look at it, and doink, a little bit of concertina right there. And I'll tell you, Kennen, it is a good thing that damage is off. I wouldn't call these F4 cars fragile exactly, but that kind of multiple hit there in close quarters, there would have been a couple cars taking toes on the flatbed right there.
Yeah, well, absolutely. If damage was off, we would have watched probably all four of those drivers had their race effectively ended between the front end damage and the rear damage, and just an absolute tight move there by Brian Rice, but really kind of holding on decent pace, running in 19th. And here we've got another little batter. Walker Fultz is kind of looking on says Jason Cotcher. I know it's a different driver, I apologize. That's Thomas Brashear, who's trying to have a little bit of a recovery run after a decent qualifying. So it's kind of interesting. It's still, if we pull up the racetrack map in the top right again, I think it really kind of puts to a point, even with all the mistakes and everything we've had. Look at that. It's a total train really coming through the back half of the track right now. We see a little bit of separation through the back end of the field, but there must easily be the top 10 or so. All those dots are kind of overlapping. They're maybe not showing yellow or orange on our screen yet, but there's no reason to think that they don't have an opportunity to gain. I think this track, because of the difficulty, it can really allow yourself to get lulled if you don't have so much of a gap for the car in front. You kind of take it easy in the corners. You don't realize what you can give up to the car behind.
Yeah, too right. And you know, that was kind of my own experience getting some practice laps out here. We often talk about these F4 cars being momentum cars, but they're pretty snappy. They're light, 160 horsepower, but there's a lot of pretty high speed corners out here where, as I said, you really have to have faith. It's really easy to overslow. And I'll tell you, I bet a lot of the time that are being lost on these laps are lost under braking. Let's take a look at Alex Schwartz now. He's trying to make his way back up. He's got Borden cranked down to a little bit under 0.4 of a second. And Schwartz trying to claw his way back towards his P5 qualifying position, down 3 right now, sitting in P8. Borden also down 3. So both of these drivers had a rough early first part of the lap and are on recovery drives right now. And I'd note that Novice now has gotten through up into P5. So Novice, we said, needed to make a charge here and make up for kind of a soft effort on qualifying. And so far, so good for him. And my goodness, look at Greg Meyer. Up 8. Greg Meyer came to party here at Aragon, and he is looking pretty good out here today.
Yeah, Greg Meyer has really shown some speed. He's also shown a little bit of luck getting through some of the mayhem we've had in this opening front half, almost 3/4 into the race. And here we see Schwartz making an outside look on David Borden. Thinks a little bit better of it, concedes way. We'll see if he can do much with it. And Borden gets a little bit of a rattle in the front end. That's going to allow Alex Schwartz to be able to attack, and he's certainly looking inside. Does decide to back off. Obviously, contact at this point isn't going to do either driver good in getting back up front, but certainly a tight spot. I don't know whether they'll have the time to get back to James McDonald. They may not be able to improve past this, but here's Alex Schwartz taking another look on the inside, or actually the outside, which is kind of interesting. He's tried to make all of his moves on the outside here, but get into the hard braking like we talked about. This is where they had their incident earlier, and it might set him up. No, he hits the curb. He hits one of those heavy curves. He has to let off of it. Alex Schwartz really trying there to make a move on David Borden, but that really set him back several laps. We'll see if he can even get back up to him by the end of the race.
Yeah, Schwartz had a very good setup going there on Borden, had a good run down that second half of that back straight, had Borden set up for kind of over under there, and just nipped that marble curb. And I don't know if you can really see him, but right at the apex of a lot of these corners is kind of a round, like half sphere sticking up right at the apex, and that's the line that you can't cross in these cars. And Schwartz, you see how loose that made his car, and looking right now, that is one of the people who aren't who it is. That's Posada trying to, in the car labeled as Trantham, trying to get Hagen there. He's got Hagen down to about 1/10, almost side by side here, coming into this little difficult area here, turn 7, heading down toward the mini corkscrew, and wish I had the turn numbers down a little better. My apologies for that, but Hagen has got his rearview mirror full of Posada right now. Going to take a quick peek back up front at Duvall. Yep, he's still there. He is still cranking down laps. His last he's running right around 202 as fast as a 201.5. His last was a 202.1. And meanwhile, Alex Schwartz running in P8 on a bit of a recovery drive that we talked about, has the fast lap of the race so far of 201.1. So yeah, I'm going to say, Kennen, that this high humidity here, and look at Hirsch. Oh, yeah, the high humidity that we saw reported earlier, almost 100%, has made this track fairly greasy despite the pretty friendly track temperature. And there is Jose Navas, gets it done into that hairpin on Meyer. And now Navas sitting in P4, up 4. So Navas's recovery drive continues. He now has a massive gap of 3.5 seconds ahead to David Hirsch, with only about 3.5 minutes remaining here. So he's probably going to be driving in his rear view right now, just trying to hang on to that P4 and hang on to the points that come with that.
Yeah, and Navas, he won't have an opportunity probably really to get up to David Hirsch. David Hirsch, I'm very surprised he wasn't able to make a move on Jacob Guyton there the last lap, but really it's going to come down to Navas, and you see he's having to play heavy defense on Greg Meyer. Greg Meyer obviously wants to get that 4th place back. We're on board with him. We'll see. Takes a peek to the outside, wants that really wide run. Navas is going to defend, get himself a little bit wide before the apex, but this is really the race for Navas, but this is also what we've talked about in his championship run. This is where he's made his bread and butter. Having good, consistent top 5 finishes, staying up front will certainly allow him to find himself on the top when we see the crowning championship event. And right now, he just can't do anything to really jeopardize or compromise that. He's done a really good job. You don't want to get yourself caught up, even if it does cost you a position. You don't want to find yourself touching wheels and losing more than that, racing toe-to-toe with Greg Meyer. He's certainly an aggressive driver. He knows he's looking at a potential champion in front of him. He obviously wants to make a pass, and that's going to prove quite difficult. And here, David Hirsch is falling back a little bit on Jacob Guyton. So I don't know what the top 2nd and 3rd will really have on Duvall at this point. I think Duvall's kind of run away with it. He just has to keep the car underneath him and bring it home to the checkered line.
Yeah, Duvall driving off, and you can see that slipstream effect going to work here on the second half of the straightaway with both of these battles. Hirsch getting within 0.4 of Guyton on the entry to that hairpin, and you see Meyer all over Navas right there. Got that down to about 1/10. So slipstream definitely getting work done here at Aragon, especially on that second half of the back straight heading into the hairpin. And as we watch, that is Navas for Meyer. Navas hanging on to P4, about 1.5 minutes remaining. This could be probably the white flag lap right now that we're on. So Meyer right now, if he wants to make something happen, he has got to make it happen on this lap. And it looks like Hirsch has got Guyton cranked down again, as well as that battle continues to rage. Although just as I say that, it widens up a little bit. Guyton able to stretch it. It was down to about 0.2, and now going back and forth like an accordion. Now it's back to 0.4, now back down to 0.2. So if these drivers are feeling racy. A very good chance we're going to see some disputes here, contested entries into turn 16, that hairpin at the end of the back straight. Or if drivers are satisfied with their position, just want to get it home clean, they'll breathe a little bit right here and just get the car home. And looks like Meyer is in the latter group, but not Hirsch. Hirsch is still pedaling hard. He's got that gap down to 0.3 now as they're coming down. Here they go into that inner loop, and the critical corner for Guyton will be right here. He'll go take this right-hander. He'll need a good exit on this left onto the second half of the back straight. And he's even kind of within a stone's throw of Guyton. Got that gap down, or Duval rather, got that gap down to about 1.7, but Hirsch is going to have a run here. Look at our timing tower. Look at that gap dropping, and Guyton leaves the inside open. Hirsch going for it, sticks it down the inside of the hairpin. Let's see what happens here. A battle of braking right here. And Hirsch is going to get it done. It is going to stick. And Guyton, after all of that work and driving with David Hirsch in his rearview mirror for the majority of this race, unable to hang on to P2. I'm sure he's happy with the podium, but Hirsch gets that move done on the last lap for P2 as Duval winning easily here.
Yeah, I think that was about all Jacob Guyton could really do. I don't know. He could have been more aggressive defending, but I think kind of like I brought up earlier, you get yourself into something where it crashes both drivers, then you're going to reflect on such a worse result. So I think he's happy to be on the podium, just unfortunately the wrong side of the circumstance with the draft on that kind of lap. And we see a lot of different battles coming through, and here we see we're looking at Ken Estep leading good run there with Isaac Ammon and Jason Trantham all coming across the line, and quite a few different battles we had here. The group kind of got spread out, but that was a really good race, JR. There was lots of racing all throughout the field. They didn't really get as spread apart as one would think. Obviously, Adam Duval really kind of ran away with it the whole time, but throughout the field, that was pretty high intensity. I think a lot of drivers will be pleased with racing that track.
Yeah, absolutely. These Sim Racers Group competitors doing a great job on a very difficult and not very frequently used racetrack here at Aragon. So definitely good stuff. And I will say that when these drivers saw the white flag, they started whipping those horses. Kennen, look at all those intervals that had been in the white, bigger than a second. Seems like a lot of those cranked down on the last lap as people tried to make moves toward the end, and most notably Hirsch making it happen. And look at Alex Schwartz there with that 201.1. The only person to get close to breaking that 201 barrier, although I guess Guyton was right there too with a 201.15. So a couple of them tickled it. We didn't see any laps in the 2-minute range. A little surprising, but again, as I said, very, very humid here as those Mediterranean breezes making it awful muggy here in Aragon. But yeah, very good race. Hats off to the whole group here, particularly those who had to get their practice done at the SRG facility in the 1 hour that they had prior to the race. Very good job on a very tough track. And we'll have the final results for you here in just one moment.
Yeah, that really was a good race. That was very surprising. I think when we were kind of discussing about it before we went live on the air, just how difficult of a track it was gonna be, and it really proved that it was a difficult track, but it really opened up a lot of racing opportunities. It really allowed for a lot of back and forth. The driver could have a really good lap and follow it up with not quite as good of a lap, and it would open that door up for drivers behind to take advantage of it. And we really saw it up and down the field. So that was really quite an excellent race.
Yeah, and one of our other producers here just dropped a note in chat wondering why Guyton left the door open there into the hairpin on that last lap, and a little bit of defense might have saved him that P2, but left it wide open. And David Hirsch said, "Thank you very much. I'll take it." But there are your final results. It is Adam Duval from David Hirsch from David Guyton on your Formula 4 podium. Jose Navas, after struggling in qualifying, manages to push it all the way up into P4, and then Greg Meyer is a +7 sitting in P5. He'll be followed by James McDonald, probably a little disappointed with how things turned out. I see him sitting outside, so we'll have a chat with him about that. Then David Borden, Alex Schwartz, Tyler Hagan, and Isaac Ammon will round out the top 10. Then it is Posada in P11, Brashear, right? In the Cotcher Mobile in P12. Ken Estep, Dan Clark, Saburo Vase in P15. Then it's Glasser, Fultz, Shane Chang, Brian Rice, Embry Hyde, Rudy Sumudio, and Cy Nathan to round out your 22 car grid, and everybody finishing on the full lap, on the lead lap, with the exception of Nathan. So very, very good effort by these drivers out here today. And let's take a quick look here. And we'll go ahead and bring in David Hirsch. David, I don't think I've seen you up on the podium many times this season. If I have, my apologies, but a very good drive. You managed to move up 4 positions in a track that's pretty difficult to get passes done. And speaking of difficult passes, complete lack of defense by Guyton there kind of handed you that P2. So what was going through your mind there when you saw that inside open going into the hairpin on the last lap?
Honestly, it was a couple of laps like in the making. I saw Jacob was really struggling on that last corner going into the long straight, so I thought I would have a chance, and I didn't want to risk it, and I was just trying to be as patient as I could, and I just knew he'd cooked his tires. They were a little hot, and if I just was patient to the last lap, I knew I could get around him, and thankfully I was able to stay close all lap and was able to make it done, or get it done in the last lap, so it was good. Yeah,
very well done. And I got to ask you if Guyton had covered the inside there, did you have a plan B for an over-under outside run there?
Yeah, actually in practice this week, I was practicing really late braking on that and trying to use all of that hairpin just to get a better run to the straight. But Guyton's been good at those last runs to the line, so I knew I was had my hands full the whole race.
Yeah, as we're talking, we're just showing that in slow motion, and almost a photo finish there at the line for P2. So outstanding job, and I think the whole group did a pretty good job getting up to speed on a fairly difficult course here. So congratulations again on the P2. And as we wrap up, is there anyone that you would like to thank or give a shout out to today?
This one especially, I'm gonna shout out my mom. Stay strong, and yeah, this one's for you.
All right. Well, thanks for stopping by and chatting with us, David, and look forward to seeing you out there next week.
Hey, thank you so much, guys, for all you do. Appreciate it.
All right. That was your P2. Second step on the podium, David Hirsch. And Kennen, looks like we got David Borden hanging around, ready to share his thoughts about the race.
Yeah, we got David Borden here with us. He started P4, unfortunately fell back 3 spots by the finish into 7th. Had a little bit of a heavy contact going into that final hairpin, and obviously not what you probably expected going into the race with such a good practice and qualifying session, David. But how would you describe the event overall?
You know, I'm frustrated, to be honest. Because of that, it's been unfortunate that I've been taken out several times, over the last month or so, and it's just frustrating, because you have the pace, you can run up front, but you can't do much if somebody, punch you from behind. So other than that, it was good after that. Once I was able to kind of get back and get rolling, we were able to bring some, take some spots back.
Yeah, and we can really hear the frustration in your voice. I really do have to ask, do you plan after this interview, you're going to have to go up to the steward's office and kind of have a discussion with race control about what's kind of going on in the incidents you've been involved in throughout the season?
Yeah, I think I'll probably have to have that discussion, because I've held off on having the discussion for several events, hoping that things would start to clean up, and they haven't. But, overall, everybody races really clean, but you get a couple people in there that don't, and it kind of creates some havoc.
And unfortunately, we've had to note kind of you being caught up in them a few times throughout it. And I know just not really the day you were wanting to have. I know you're disappointed looking back to get back to the campsite and everything else before we let you go, though. A lot of people put you out here on the racetrack. Anybody you'd like to give a shout out to a sponsor or two before we let you go today?
Sure. like to thank my wife for supporting this, and you guys. Honestly, you just do a fantastic job, and it makes it really fun for family and friends to watch. It just sets it apart, so it's great. And also want to thank Jason, for organizing this whole thing. He does a great job on that as well.
No, we really do appreciate the compliments, but the beautiful show we're allowed to produce doesn't happen without fantastic drivers like you on track. And I know we can really just feel it in the disappointment today. We know we're going to Snetterton next week, and we really look forward to hopefully see you have a better result as we get there. Thank you, David.
Sure, appreciate it. All right, take care.
That was David Borden feeling a little bit salty, it sounded like, about some contact during that one. And he was not the only victim of some elbows out driving. And on that note, let's go ahead and bring in James McDonald, who was putting down some great times in practice, put together a pretty good quali, and ended up kind of involved in a mess that cost him a couple of positions. James, talk us through that contact that you had in turn 16. There was quite a gaggle of cars trying to push their way through there, and a couple of you came out worse for the wear.
Yeah, the inside track on that is really the only way to defend that long straight. And with the F4s, you just don't have enough power to really put a person behind you. So you get ahead of them, and if you're trying to defend, the only thing you can do is to stay on the inside while they basically come even or a little bit past you on the outside. And then you have to make a really tight, high brake turn on the hairpin, and I think somebody just got into the back of me. I never saw it. All of a sudden I was spinning and there was like 9 cars on top of me, and thankfully I didn't have significant damage. I was able to get it back on the track, but after that the cars spread out quite a bit, and I was chasing Jose, and I couldn't catch him. It took me a while to get my tires back under me, and yeah, it was just a tough race. I thought that I was fast, but I mean, some of the guys like Duval were just fast all week on this and had tremendous pace. So you knew it was going to be very, very tough in that hairpin.
Yeah, it's a very, very challenging track, a fun track. I thought that this car felt pretty good out here, and let me just throw one idea at you. I think on the approach to a hairpin like that, it's not all or nothing. You don't have to either defend or take the normal line. I like to kind of ride the middle of the track, lure my opponent into a way too shallow entry, and then smoke them on the exit. But that's just me. Anyway. Just food for thought there. And this is your first season here in SRG F4. We're 9 weeks in, and just share a word or two about how it's gone for you, how you enjoy running with this group, and kind of give me the sales on what it's like to hang out with Sim Racers Group.
Oh, Sim Racers Group has been the best. I was actually poached off of the iRacing Discord by Tyler, who saw me asking a bunch of questions and getting terrible advice back and really salty people. And he said, hey, you might be interested in this league that we have here. And I looked into it and talked to Captain Jason. And it's just been great because the racers, even though sometimes we see crashes, they really do want to race clean. They want to race fast. They're extremely helpful to other people. This, I think, is my 3rd race with them because I didn't start at the beginning of the season, and my schedule, so I work as a firefighter, and I have a very goofy schedule where I can make 6 races, but then I'm going to miss 3, and so it just kind of lined up that I was able to hit a couple of these things, and it's been a big challenge because with iRacing, you have a new track every week, and I don't know any tracks. So every week I have a track that I have to first learn and then try to get fast enough to compete with these monsters who are just, flying by with a really good understanding. But I think like 3 or 4 of the top dogs are going to be moving up to F3 for next season. So maybe I'll stand a chance at a podium.
Well, you're definitely showing some pace, and especially for a newbie who's learning these tracks, I think you probably have a pretty bright outlook for the future. And as you point out, a few folks are going to be graduating. And by the way, on behalf of everybody, thanks for the work that you do as a firefighter there in the Bay Area. You've had a rough couple of years around there in terms of some nasty fires. So thanks for that. And as we conclude the interview, James, is there anyone you'd like to thank or give a shout out to today?
Well, first of all, I'll correct you on that. I'm actually one of the remote guys, so I am racing out of Iowa. So I'll give a shout out to the Iowa City Fire Department and the people watching from there. And then some of my podcasting buddies at Azeroth Morning Radio. They'll get the shout out this time. But SMB, you guys really, really make this thing. SRG wouldn't be nearly as much fun if I wasn't able to tell people to watch this tremendous broadcast with the great announcers and the cameras and the production and the whole deal. So thank you guys very much for the great work you do every week.
All right. Well, it is our pleasure. We love being involved here with SRG, and we've really enjoyed watching the league grow, and we're going to be happy to be here with you as that continues. So thanks for stopping by, James. Thanks for the kind words, and we look forward to seeing you out there as your schedule permits.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right. Well, that is going to wrap up our interviews and is going to wrap up our show for tonight. But while you're looking at the screen right now, I want you to go ahead and subscribe to Slow Motion Broadcasting. And don't forget to hit that notification icon so that you don't miss any of the action. And we have got action coming your way. Tomorrow night, we'll be back here with Sim Racers Group as we visit Donington Park for the next round of Formula 3 competition. Then Saturday, Weekend Warriors Formula Vs visit rainy Lebanon. That is going to be an interesting one for sure. Our Sunday Weekend Warriors doubleheader will feature Formula Fords at Oran Park, Spec Racer Fords at Imola, and later on that evening, the Liberty Bells will throw down at the Charlotte Roval. And 1 week from tonight, SRG Formula 4 will convene at Snetterton in the UK. Well, folks, that is going to wrap up tonight's show. This is J.R. Gregory on behalf of myself, my partner, Kennen Miller, our producer, Joshua Wilkie, and everyone here at SMB. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are, and look at the bright side. At least it ain't Monday.